All right, NASCAR heads to New Hampshire this week without Dale Earnhardt Jr. Concussion-like symptoms. You will not be using him this week. We hope he gets better, but we wouldn't have used Jr. anyway. He's only got one top 10 in his past 10 races and no wins this year. But NASCAR with Sean Engel, as we do every week, the father and son fantasy segment on Fridays. Brad Keselowski looking for his third straight win, Sean. He's 10,300 on DraftKings, and looks like he's well worth it.
Well, I have to say, Keselowski is looking like one of the top picks this week. He's coming off 2 consecutive victories. He's a 3-time winner at New Hampshire. Just from the past 2 races alone, all that momentum and a track he's been historically good at, this looks like a really good week to use Keselowski.
All right, this is Denny Hamlin's best track. How much do you like him at $9,500 on DraftKings?
For his price range, I really do like Hamlin quite a bit, and the stats only just show he's one of the best at this track. He has the second best driver rating of 103 and an average running position of 11th, which is best on the entire field. I really like Hamlin this week. You should definitely use him.
Carl Edwards at 10,100. But how much is he going to push for a victory? Maybe he's a better cash game play than a tournament play.
Well, while that may be true, Carl has 7 top 10 finishes and 189 fastest laps ran. He's been very productive this season for fantasy owners, but I do think his asking price is quite a bit high this week and a little bit too expensive in my mind. So unless he happens to dominate practice, I would try somebody else, actually, instead of using Carl.
Would that be Jimmie Johnson at 9,700 or Martin Truex Jr. at 9,300 instead?
Between those two, for me, it would be Jimmie Johnson. Because Jimmie has 10 top 5 finishes in 28 starts and 77% laps ran in the top 15, which is the best in the entire field. This is one of Johnson's better tracks on the circuit, and he's more consistent than Carl is here. He's a bit of a safer pick. So I feel you can't go wrong with Jimmie this week, especially as he's under 10,000, which is definitely cheaper than Carl.
All right. What about Matt Kenseth? Is he a good bargain at 9,100? And you also got Kurt Busch at 9,000.
Well, I definitely do like Kenseth, that's for sure. He finished in the top 10 in 5 of his last 6 New Hampshire starts with an average finish of 13th. And ever since Kenseth joined Joker's Racing, he's been really good at this track. And he only finished once outside of the top 10. Look for him to do the same this week in New Hampshire, and he's a great pick. And Kurt Busch, he's shown glimpses of success at New Hampshire with 3 victories, but none of it has really been that recent because he's only had 1 top 10 finish since 2011. So I'm kind of leaning towards avoiding Kurt this week unless he does well in practice.
Kyle Larson, 8,500, and Tony Stewart, 8,100. Are those your 2 favorite drivers below $9,000?
Well, Kyle Larson has 2 top 5 finishes in his 4 starts, so I think he can actually be a pretty good sleeper pick this week, considering that he is having a nice season for fantasy owners. And Tony Stewart, he has 3 wins, and he tops the driver rating list with 103 as well, but it's a little more than it's just a little more than the other drivers. And if he has a strong practice run or 2, look out. He's going to be one of the best sleepers this week, too.
Austin Dillon, 8,300. Ryan Newman, 7,700.
Well, Austin Dillon has an average finish of 14th, and he's never really stood out much in this track, but considering that he's finished in the top 15 in all but one of his starts, he could be a nice, safe sleeper pick. And Newman, he has 17 top 10 finishes in 28 starts. This is one of his better tracks. He's solid here, and, I don't expect that to change this week. I think Newman's going to be a great pick, and his price is nice to boot.
And what about when we try to save money? We got A.J. Allmendinger at 7,100, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 6,900.
Well, A.J. has 10 consecutive top 25 finishes at New Hampshire and an average finish at 23rd. It's been a bit of a safer pick considering his consistency in the top 25, but I think there's a chance A.J. might improve and end up being a fairly decent sleeper pick. But watch his practice speeds before using him. And Stenhouse, I kind of am feeling the same way. He's ran 25% of his laps in the top 15 with one top 10. Decent performer throughout the season, but I do not expect that to change either this week. I'm leaning towards use him, but you have to make sure and see where his practice speeds are before using him for sure.
And totally hitting the bargain basement real quick. Danica Patrick, 6,300. Chris Buescher, 5,700. David Reagan, 5,600.
Danica Patrick with an average finish at 23rd. Very cheap. I like her price. If she ends up making through the race without crashing, she will be good. Chris Buescher, he's never raced in the Sprint Cup here, so you kind of don't know with him for sure. So he might be worth trying. And David Reagan, he has 6 top 20 finishes and probably the cheapest value of the three, at 5,600. His experience and all the top 20 finishes make him one of the best picks for this range at New Hampshire.
All right, real quick, one driver you just don't like. Just give me his name.
Michael McDowell.
All right, don't look for Michael McDowell to be a bargain. All right, thanks to Sean Engel, and check out more picks on RotoExperts.com from Dan Dobin.